people, eavesdrop on them. He then started using it to steal from his family, which is why his family and the other hobbit-like creatures kick him out. Okay, and so he goes off into the under the Misty Mountains and lives down there, and he sneaks up on goblins, puts it on, sneaks up on goblins, slices their throats, drags the body back down to his little island in the middle of the lake, and munches away, etc. Yeah, kind of cannibalistic. Okay, probably why I have issues with suggesting he might go to Valinor. Okay, pass your papers this way, please.
How many points are the papers?
100 points. Exams each worth 100 points. Yes?
Will we find out what the grade is on D12 sometime over spring break, probably?
On your papers? No, I won't put the grades for the papers on D2L. In case you're interested, I'll kind of mix it up. In case you're interested in what everybody else wrote about, I won't read names, but the titles. Not a Christian Allegory. In-depth look at the mythos and themes in J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. That was, I didn't bring a copy with me. That was topic number 7. Topic number 3, Gandalf, the true hero of J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. Topic 3, A Stone Doomed to Roll. That's a cool title. Gandalf, the hero of The Lord of the Rings. Topic 3, The Case for Samwise Gamgee as the hero of The Lord of the Rings. Number 3, Why Sam is the hero of the tale in The Lord of the Rings. Number 3, Sam is the real hero. I see a pattern. Oh, number 1, breaks the pattern. Stewardship and power from man and from God. Number 7, temptation of power, ultimate theme in The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Back to the pattern. Number 3, Samwise the Strong, hero of The Lord of the Rings. And topic 3, Samwise Gamgee, the hero behind the hero. Topic 5, Through Different Eyes. Ooh. A discussion of the redemption of Smeagol in J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. Topic 1, Stewardship and Power of Denethor and Gandalf. And topic 6, What the Ring of Power represents in J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. Okay. Put all those over there. Get rid of this. Very briefly, when we get back from spring break, because we've not had any quizzes yet, and I want to do at least 7 more quizzes. Okay, 3 for Lord of the Rings, and then 7 for the Harry Potter novels. Very briefly in a moment. We can either, when we come back on the 11th, Monday the 11th, have a 10-point quiz over Philosopher's Stone, 5 points extra credit, kind of general stuff. And then on Wednesday, have another one over Chamber of Secrets, and then on Friday, have one over Azkaban. Okay? We'll be in Goblet of Fire for you to finish Prisoner of Azkaban, which of course won't keep me from coming back and talking about Prisoner of Azkaban on Monday, at least not the very end that I went to. So we could do that, or just skip quizzes over these 2 and have 2 quizzes over 2 of the later novels, like Order of the Phoenix, Deathly Hallows, Half-Blood Prince. I mean, we could easily do 5 quizzes over each one of those if I wanted to. And, if some of you band together, if you just be aware of what you ask for. I'll just say that. When I teach this course in London, each discussion of each book begins with a 25-point kind of trivia quiz. So, people who take it there generally have really read the books. I'll take a brief vote at the end of class, we'll say. And then I'll let you know whether or not I decide to go with that vote or go with what I want to do. Okay, so I want to pick up very end of Chamber of Secrets. 10:30, about 45. Where Harry and Dumbledore are talking, and Dumbledore, we just briefly touched on this the other day. Dumbledore thanks Harry for showing him great loyalty. And he says, I know you showed me great loyalty because Fox came. And that's the only way Fox would have come. And then Dumbledore says, so you met Tom Riddle. He must have been really interested in you. And Harry blurts out, Riddle said I'm like him. Strange likenesses. Did he? And what do you think, Harry? He keeps doing that. It just gets on my nerves. And tell me how that makes you feel. You know, kind of plays a role of counselor. Harry, I don't think I'm like him. I'm in Gryffindor. He was in Slytherin. Notice, Harry kind of says that quickly, more loudly than he'd intended. Why are we told he says that more loudly than he'd intended?
The people in Slytherin are probably...
Okay, most of the people in Slytherin are evil gits, as we will be told. Why else?
He was worried he was going to be put in Slytherin.
Okay, we didn't talk about that, right? What's the Sorting Hat do?
He said you'll do very well.
He says, let's see. Ooh, you're difficult. You're hard to place. What shall we do? And he kind of talks about Harry's qualities. Not a bad mind. Is that a ringing recommendation for Harry's smarts? Not a bad mind? It's not, A+, super material. What else? Desire to prove himself. Okay. Talent? Oh my, yes. So, got an okay mind. He really wants to prove himself, and he has talent. And the Sorting Hat says, with those characteristics, you would do really well in Slytherin. Why? You need each of those in order to, seek to fulfill or show ambition. He says Slytherin will make what of Harry? It'll make you great. When Harry got his wand, what did the wand maker tell him?
He was a brother to another one.
Okay, the wand was brother to another one. He didn't say which one. What else? The owner of the other one, did terrible. They were great. Terrible, but great. We must expect great things of you, Mr. Potter. He's a freaking 11-year-old kid, and you're putting all that on his shoulders. Okay? Now, morally, hopefully everybody in this room would agree with the statement, Hitler was a monster. Please, everybody agree with that statement. But you have to say what Hitler did were great things. Great isn't a moral statement. Great is a statement of magnitude. Look what he did for Germany beginning in 1933 when he's elected chancellor. Germany was in the midst of what? What was the United States in the midst of? The whole world was in the midst of a Great Depression. He turned Germany outside the Depression long before we did. He didn't do it by persecuting the Jews. That's not what got them out. What got them out? He started preparing for war. He ramped up the military industry, put people to work. Okay? Yeah, it raised inflation, all that kind of stuff, but it broke the Depression in Germany. That was a great thing. He made people proud to be German again. For the wrong reasons, yes. Okay? But he instilled kind of national pride, so to speak. Great, but terrible, right? So, when Harry says, I don't think I'm like him, notice he says it loudly. What do you sometimes do? Somebody says something that you really disagree with, you really don't like. You just go, no, that's not true. You snap. And your voice gets louder. Okay? But he fell silent. And then he tells Dumbledore, Sorting Hat told me I'd have done well in Slytherin. Everyone thought I was Slytherin's heir for a while. because I can speak Parseltongue. Where's Harry going with that argument? Am I Slytherin's heir? I mean, he's wondered, why can I speak Parseltongue? And Dumbledore says, you can speak Parseltongue, Harry. Notice he says this calmly. Why calmly? He wants it to sink in. He wants Harry to really listen. Because Lord Voldemort, who is the last remaining ancestor, wrong word. Wrong word. How can Voldemort be an ancestor of Salazar Slytherin? Ancestor comes before. What's the word she means?
Descendant.
Descendant. But she used ancestor. That's not a little clue to something later on. Unless she tried to weasel her way out in Pottermore, which, she's been doing a lot of. So, he says, Voldemort is the last living descendant of Slytherin. He says, you can speak Parseltongue, Harry, because Lord Voldemort, skip the part in between brackets, can't speak Parseltongue. Now, stop right there for a moment. If you were to write that in a paper, with nothing else following, Harry can speak Parseltongue because Voldemort can speak Parseltongue. What does the because Voldemort can speak Parseltongue mean for the first half of that statement? Okay. What's missing from the statement? The relationship, the cause. By saying because Voldemort can speak Parseltongue, that's not saying how Harry can speak Parseltongue. That is, if you were to write that on a paper, that is what would be called a non sequitur. That is, it does not follow. Because Voldemort can speak Parseltongue is not the cause. You have to state what the cause is, which is what Dumbledore does in the next clause. Unless I'm much mistaken, he transferred some of his own powers to you the night he gave you that scar. Okay? So, Dumbledore says, the night you got that scar, which was the night Voldemort tried to kill you, when you were a 1 year, 3-month-old baby, Dumbledore says, transferred. Literally, that means bore across, okay, some of his powers to you. But he didn't mean to. Okay? Now look at what Harry says. Harry listens to Dumbledore, and he interprets what Dumbledore says, and then Harry puts what Dumbledore says in his own words. Okay? He does this throughout, actually, all 7 novels. And it's really important because it tells us a little bit about how Harry's mind works. Okay? So, he transferred some of his powers to you. And Harry says, Voldemort put a bit of himself in me? Notice the difference between transferring some powers and putting a bit of himself? Are the powers necessarily, quote-unquote, part of Voldemort?
Maybe, but we don't know that.
Maybe, but we don't know that. Or are powers things he can learn? The students are there for 7 years. For what purpose? To learn what? For the purpose of using it. Okay? For the purpose of using it. How to do spells. How to make potions. How to practice charms. How to do arithmancy, magic with numbers. Not funny counting, but other kind of magic. So, Harry interprets what Dumbledore says as a question, and notice, Dumbledore confirms Harry's interpretation. It certainly seems so. Okay? Now, this is going to become really, really important later on. Hugely important. Harry. Now, Harry goes back to his kind of earlier comment. So I should be in Slytherin. I should be in Slytherin. Why? Because part of Voldemort is in me. And Voldemort is a Slytherin. Therefore, I should be in Slytherin. The Sorting Hat could see Slytherin's power in me and it. And Dumbledore finishes the sentence. He doesn't let Harry finish it. It put you in Gryffindor, Harry. You are kind of like Tom Riddle. You have many qualities, so as our Slytherin prized in his handpicked students. And so he gives examples of those qualities. Parseltongue. What else? Resourcefulness. Where do we see Harry's resourcefulness? Destroying the diary. That was pretty resourceful. Defending Neville, getting the Remember All. That was pretty resourceful. Defending the Sorcerer's Stone without knowing how, that is, going through the trapdoor. Did he know what was going to happen when they went through the trapdoor? Did he know there were going to be, including the trapdoor, 7 defenses against the Sorcerer's Stone? No. But he meets each one, and while he doesn't personally get them through each one, Hermione helps, Ron helps, okay? Push comes to shove, he does figure things out. What else? Determination. Notice, he doesn't give up. He doesn't give up when Hagrid says, follow the spiders. They do follow the spiders. He doesn't give up when Aragog says, no, I'm not going to let you leave. You're going to dinner for my children, etc. When the flying forward Anglia shows up, they leave, okay? He never gives up. What else? Certain disregard for rules. What rules has Harry broken?
He nearly exposed the Wizarding Bowl.
Nearly exposed? Well, he did, kind of, with the flying forward. What else? Goes out of bounds, goes into the Forbidden Forest, walks around, forbidden hallways, goes into the library at night, looks at forbidden books.
Security is pretty bad there.
What is their security?
Filch and their
Filch, Mrs. Norris, and Snape.
He's kind of yelled.
Dumbledore?
Nothing that can't be broken with the invisibility cloak.
Okay. So, but talk about those rules for a moment. What kind of rules are they? Are those like capital crimes? No. Most of those are what?
Suggestions.
Okay. They're stupid little rules that you expect students at a boarding school to break. Like, don't sneak down to the kitchens and steal food. Oh, thanks for the suggestion. After all, Harry gets the cloak. It says what? With the note. Use it well. It's an invisibility cloak. So what are you supposed to do? Have fun, man. He gets it back. Seemingly to use it even more. Notice it doesn't come back with a bunch of rules. Don't go down and steal food. Don't go up and spy in the girls' dormitory, little pervert. Don't, blah, 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 blah. There are reasons why he couldn't do that even if he wanted to. We'll talk about later. Okay? So, the Dumbledore says, it put you in Gryffindor. Why, Harry? But why does Dumbledore ask Harry? Why? What's he doing? He's teaching. Every interaction Harry has with Dumbledore is a teaching moment from Dumbledore's perspective. He is teaching Harry. Okay? You know why that was. Harry says, well, because I asked you. I asked not to go in Slytherin. Why didn't he want to go in Slytherin? At that point, what did he know about Slytherin? Draco Malfoy. And the little conversation he had at Madame Malkin's and the little conversation they had in the train with Crabbe and Goyle, Ron, okay, Dumbledore. Exactly. Which makes you very different from Tom Riddle. See, it's already 15 minutes. It is our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are far more than our abilities. That's the money quote for this book. Each of the books that Dumbledore is in, and he's not in all of them, take that back, he is, but not alive in all of them, they put it that way. You just gave up away. Each one of them has a quote-unquote money quote. That is something that you can kind of bank on is really getting at the central point of that novel. So, it is our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are far more than our abilities. Well, where do abilities come from? Practice?
In Harry's case, Voldemort, at least partially.
Okay. What does that really get at, though?
He didn't work for them, necessarily.
Not necessarily. How many people in here can run a 8.9 100-meter dash?
Never tried, but I bet
Bet you couldn't. Because Usain Bolt, I think, runs about an 8.75. And he's the fastest man in the world. Even if I wanted to, in high school I pole vaulted. Highest I got was about 13 feet. I could have practiced a hell of a lot more. I could have maybe eked out 14 feet my first year in college. I never would have hit 19 feet, the world record at the time. When I was running marathons, I never would have run a sub 230. I might have been able, if I had really, really practiced well and eaten well and gotten all the sleep I needed, I might have been able to break a sub 3 hour marathon. But that, I don't think so. Okay? Why not? I don't have the ability. Ability is something you're born with. That's raw talent. You have to have the raw talent that can then be what? Practiced, trained, honed. How many of you have quote-unquote perfect pitch? You can hear a musical note and immediately say exactly what it is. There aren't many people that have that. Some do. The rest of us, we can listen to music, we can study music, we can write music, and never develop perfect pitch. Okay? Dumbledore is telling Harry, it doesn't have anything to do with blood. Go back to Hagrid at the beginning of the novel. What about the Malfoys? Bad blood, rotten to the core. Dumbledore is saying, has nothing to do with that. It is our choices that what? What's the it when I say it has nothing to do with that? It's our choices that show what we truly are. Why? Because even somebody with quote-unquote bad blood can make a right decision, can make a good decision. It's our choices. Similarly, somebody with good blood can go way wrong. I don't know what you think of your families. I don't know what you know of other people, but you probably have somewhere in your mind a memory of some family that somebody in your family said you shouldn't hang around with them because they're not good people. And yet, sometimes somebody in that not good people ends up doing good things. And often, somebody in the good people end up doing really bad things, really wrong things. So what's Dumbledore's point? It's what we do with our lives. That's what's important. Okay? So, we're told, Harry sat motionless in his chair, stunned. And Dumbledore's like, okay, I got to give this kid some proof of what I'm talking about. And he says, take a close look at this. And he hands Harry the sword of Godric Gryffindor. Harry doesn't know it's the sword of Godric Gryffindor. He just thinks it's the sword that the hat dropped on his head. And he hands it to him. And Harry now reads, on or just beneath the hilt, Godric Gryffindor. And Dumbledore says, only a true Gryffindor could have pulled that out of the hat. What's he mean, true Gryffindor? Does he mean simply somebody who really does belong in the house of Godric Gryffindor? Or does he mean, because he's talked about Voldemort being the last descendant of Salazar Slytherin, does he mean a true descendant of Godric Gryffindor? I think it's the latter. Part of that is because we find out later. He is a true descendant of Godric Gryffindor. Okay? So, Lucius Malfoy comes in, wants to know what Dumbledore's doing back. Dumbledore says, yeah, I heard strange stories from the other 11 governors about threatenings and such for their signatures. And what does Harry do?
Takes his sock off.
He takes his sock off because Harry accuses Malfoy of putting the book in Ginny's cauldron. And what does Malfoy say? I did not. I would never. Prove it. Prove it. But Harry can't prove it, right? Because what's in the book? Nothing. Book's blank. And Dumbledore says, well, of course you can't prove it. Okay? So he now has another enemy. He's got little enemy, Draco. Now he's got big enemy, Draco's father. Okay? So Harry asks for the book from Dumbledore. Malfoy runs, or starts to leave, and Harry says, I've got something to give to you. And if you've seen the film's quite a bit different. Imagine this handkerchief for the moment is a sock. Harry does this. Sorry, my book's falling apart. He sticks the sock in the book. Okay? What could Malfoy do? But he doesn't. Instead, he pulls the sock out and throws it. Well, in the book, it's much better. Why? Because he has the book stuffed in the sock. So he has to pull them out. Now he's got a dirty, smelly, sweaty, because of everything Harry's been through, sock in his hand. Of course he's going to throw it. And there's Dobby, wearing his snot-covered pillowcase. And what's he say? Master threw us a book. Dobby's free now. And what does Malfoy start to do?
Well, in the movie, he starts to try and kill Harry.
Okay. Malfoy stood frozen, page 338, staring at the elf. He lunges at Harry. You've lost me, my servant boy. Dobby, you shall not harm Harry Potter. Loud bang. Okay. In the film, what do they do with that? He lunged at Harry.
He starts to say the killing first.
He starts to pull out of his cane his wand and starts saying, he starts to say Avada Kedavra. He's going to kill the little SOB. And Dobby's like, no, you shall not. You know, yes, Jasper.
I think I heard that was apparently improv because they said just act like you're about to do a curse, but apparently the forward clicker just come out, so that was the only one that could come to mind or something.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. Okay. So, Harry leaves. Next book, Prisoner of Azkaban. Notice, stay there, how this one begins. Okay. All first three books begin where? Number 4, Privet Drive. Okay. The house that Harry grows up in. So, Harry gets a phone call, Owl Post, all that kind of stuff. And we find out, chapter 1, the Weasleys have won a big award, Arthur has, okay, from the Daily Prophet. So, the Weasleys are going off to Egypt, have some fun. Skipping a bit, Harry's got letters. Why? His birthday's coming up. Harry's got letters from Ron, Hermione, Hagrid, etc. And let's see. Pick up with chapter 2. Harry finds out Aunt Marge is coming. Describe Aunt Marge.
Mean, has dogs.
Mean? What kind of dogs? It's
English
specific.
English bulldog.
English bulldogs.
Basically
Okay.
like Uncle Vernon, but like a girl version.
Female Uncle Vernon. Okay. So he's told she's coming and she's coming for a week. Now, what does Harry want from Uncle Vernon? And what does Uncle Vernon want from Harry?
Harry wants him to sign his permission slip so he can go to Hogsmeade.
Okay.
And Uncle Vernon wants him to act normal around Aunt Marge.
Okay. So, Harry has a great need. Gotta get that permission slip. Why? Hogsmeade's supposed to be a lot of fun. Okay. Vernon has a great need. What's that?
Don't embarrass me in front of my sister.
Which means, don't let my sister know you're a freak. Okay? Whose need is greater? Is one of those needs greater than the other? Not really. I mean, Vernon thinks his need's greater. Harry thinks his need's greater. So, what are we confronted with? President Trump, Kim Jong-il. Negotiations for nuclear peace. Right? I mean, that's the kind of, they have to have a negotiation. Who loses the negotiation? He's stupid. Who really is in the position of power in this negotiation? Is he? How so?
Because he's the one that can complete what Harry
He
wants.
ends it because
Okay.
even if Harry's perfect, he could still not sign it by the end of it.
Okay.
Yeah, well, Harry can kind of blackmail him too.
But yeah,
Harry,
Harry can do that too.
He's like, bro, like,
It's kind of like, I don't know.
Keep
well,
going, Vernon.
If you don't like sign the permission slip, then she'll definitely find out how much of a freak you really is.
Yeah. Right.
Which, bear in mind, what is Harry's power? It's magic, right? Okay. All hell can break loose. Almost literally. Now, Vernon does know that Harry's not allowed to practice magic outside school, right? Because of the letter they got the previous year. Okay. See, I think if anything, the power leans a little bit more on Harry's side. I mean, his threats could be a whole lot worse. What's the worst Vernon could do? Not sign the letter. Okay. Okay, so Harry doesn't go to Hogsmeade. What's the worst Harry can do to Vernon? Oh, he can make his life a living hell. He can make it so Aunt Marge never forgets.
What was the curse from a previous book? Like puking up slugs?
Yeah, I mean, to begin with. Okay? He could, I mean, all kinds of stuff. But Harry agrees to Vernon's negotiation, which is, you mind yourself, you behave for a week. Yeah, then I'll sign your form. How far does Harry make it? Till the last day. And what does he have to agree to? Where does he go to school? St. Brutus's Secure Center for the Criminally Insane. Okay? Criminally insane. And you let these people come home at 4:30 in the afternoon? Okay? So, Harry agrees. He does fine until we get to the last day. And on the third day, pressure's starting to build. Page 25. They're having lunch. And Petunia says, right in the middle of the page, you mustn't blame yourself for the way the boys turned out, Vernon. She's not talking about Dudley. If there's something rotten on the inside, there's nothing anyone can do about it. What did she just accused Harry of? bad blood. If he's rotten on the inside, he's going to be rotten on the outside. Harry's concentrating on his food. She reaches for her glass of wine, and she goes on. It's one of the rules of breeding. Breeding! You see it all the time with dogs. If there's something wrong with the bitch, there will be something wrong with the pup. Now, bitch is the correct female term for female dog. But Harry, also thinking, says, wait, did you just call my mother a bitch? Because in any language, that's not right. And what happens? She shatters the wine glass. Harry thinks he shattered the wine glass. That it was a lack of control of magic. But then Aunt Marge says, don't worry about it. Same thing happened a while ago. She broke this wine glass. How strong is a wine glass? I mean, if you take that glass and do that, it'll shatter. Can you break it with your grip? You got to have a really strong grip because of what's called the tensile strength of the glass. Okay? What's this telling us about Aunt Marge? Ooh, you don't want to mess with her. Okay? So, the final evening arrives. They're having dinner. Okay? And we're told they get all the way through the soup, page 26, top of 27, the salmon, without a single mention of Harry's faults. During the lemon meringue pie, Uncle Vernon bored them all with talk about this company that he works at. Then Aunt Petunia makes coffee, and Uncle Vernon brings out a bottle of brandy. Okay? And he says, can I tempt you, Marge? Always have to remember to do this. And she says, just a small one then. And so he pours a little bit. Now, if you've ever drunk brandy, you don't drink brandy like you do out of this. Okay? You don't drink brandy like you do a beer out of glass. You drink brandy, 1, 2, maybe 3 fingers. And that's how you measure it. So, a small one. And Vernon probably pours out a finger's amount. Like a couple of sips. Maybe 3 or 4 sips if you take small sips for that. And she says, a bit more than that, and that's the tip. She's tipping the back end of the bottle up to fill this glass. Dudley's eating his 4th slice of pie, which means Dudley has had how much of the pie? Half. Usually you cut a pie, 4ths, and then you do it again, 8ths. He's had half the pie. Aunt Petunia is drinking with her little finger sticking out. Why? Because she's a lady. She has good manners. So Dudley's porking himself out. She's pretending to have good manners. Harry wants to just leave. Uncle Vernon's eyes tell him, you're staying here. And Aunt Marge says, smacking her lips. Now, generally, in Western cultures, the UK, the United States, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Scandinavian countries, at meals, not good manners. Okay? And she puts the empty brandy glass back down. Now, we're not told from the time she lifts the brandy glass that is full to putting it back down that she has set it down before then. So, the implication is she just chugs that brandy. Excellent enough, Petunia. And she talks about what she usually eats, and then she goes, bleh. She burped richly and patted her great tweed stomach. Means she's fat. Pardon me, but I do like to see a healthy-sized boy. How healthy is Dudley? I think it's the next book. It's either the next book or the 5th book. He's described as the size of a baby killer whale. You'll be a proper-sized man, but I'll have a spot more brandy, Vernon. Now this one here. And Harry's like, blah, 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 blah. This one's got a mean, runty look about him. You get that with dogs. She had Colonel Fubster drown one of her puppies a week ago because it was a runt. What's the implication? This one should have been aborted or killed shortly after birth. Yeah.
She's a pleasant lady.
Yeah. It all comes down to blood. There we are again. As I was saying the other day, bad blood will out. And she uses the phrase Hagrid used in the beginning of the second book. Bad blood. I'm not saying anything against your family, Petunia, like hell. But your sister was a bad egg. They turn up in the best families. This Potter, you never told me what he did. He didn't work. Unemployed. As I expected. A no account, good for nothing. Lazy scrounger. A welfare cheat, in other words. Harry, he was not. And, you know, it's getting ready to blow. Now, some people have suggested that Aunt Marge, what would be her full first name? What's Marge an abbreviation for? Margaret. Is modeled after a famous English woman in the 1980s, when Harry would be alive, in the early 1990s. Anybody know who? Margaret Thatcher, the Prime Minister of Great Britain from 1978, 1979, before Reagan was president, to about 1990-91. One of the longest reigning prime ministers for the 20th century, who was a conservative, who, you know, tried to privatize the English socialist system, blah, 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 blah. Railed against welfare. Okay. She was called the female Winston Churchill. Okay. Churchill was famous for, everywhere he went, walking his dog, a massive English bulldog. Well, what does she raise? English bulldogs. This is, again, according to some, this is Rowling taking her pot shot at Thatcher. Okay? In Rowling, if you're not familiar, Rowling's pretty far left of center politically. I mean, really far left of center politically. Okay? I'm not saying that's wrong or anything, because she's going to take shots at kind of all political stripes throughout all the novels. So, what happens? She accuses Harry's father of being a drunk. We get told they go through several bottles of wine. Who's the they? Well, it's not just Aunt Marge,
Vernon.
but Aunt Marge, Vernon, and Petunia. Not Neville and not Neville. Not
Definitely not Neville.
Dudley and Harry, because they're only how old?
13.
They're only 13. They're not drinking wine. So define several bottles. 3 minimum, right? Because what would come before that? A couple. Okay. Could be more than 3. I mean, several could be more.
Mm-hmm.
If I say, I'm having a bunch of friends over here and I had several beers, that wouldn't be 3. Several would be 4 or 5, unless they're 8 or 9% alcohol by volume. And then it might be 3. And then I just lay down and go to sleep. The point is, she's talking about Harry's father being a drunk, and she is, 3 sheets to the wind at this point. Okay? So, Harry blows her up and leaves. Okay? And Harry leaves and he goes out, gets his trunk and everything. Notice just before he leaves, what does he do? He gets his trunk, he comes back down. Vernon tells him, stay put, you're not going anywhere. What does Harry do? Pulls a wand on him. Pulls a gun on him. I mean, that's essentially it.
It's a little worse than a gun.
Well, yeah, but But even pulling a gun on somebody would qualify as not good, right? Attempted murder could be charged, assault with a deadly weapon, even if you don't do anything. Assault with a really deadly weapon, if Harry knew how to do it and what to do, etc. So he leaves. And he goes out and he trips. And when he trips, he throws out his arm to do what? To break his fall. Okay? Whenever I would take students to London or go to students and have people take this course, we'd get ready for one of our field trips or our first field trip, usually to go get our Brit Rail passes validated so they could take trains and stuff. I would say, okay, we're going to go down to the bus stop, and when we go out to the bus stop, put your hand out to flag a bus. Because if you don't, the bus might think you're not there for that bus, that you're waiting for another bus. And they would all go, whoa, you mean this is how you really stop a bus in England? Like, yeah, okay, it's one of the things about taking a course there. So Harry gets on the night bus, and what happens? He gets reintroduced to something he saw earlier in the book in the morning at breakfast time. Vernon's reading the newspaper and they're watching TV. And who gets introduced to the story? Sirius Black. And how's he introduced? Louder?
Breaking out of prison.
He broke out of prison. What else? What does Vernon say about him?
He has a bad look about it.
Why does he have a bad look about him? Hair's all stringy and unkempt, uncombed. He looks like a homeless bum. That's why. So that when Marge brings up that Harry's parents were no good layabouts, and Vernon says they didn't work, we're supposed to kind of mentally combine the two. Okay? So Harry meets a couple other people. Ernie Prang and Stan Shunpike on the bus. And they take him to the Leaky Cauldron. Now, what's the Leaky Cauldron? It's a pub. Leaky Cauldron is actually supposed to be on Charing Cross Road, we get told later on. And it's next to a music store on one side and a bookstore on the other side. There are, on Charing Cross Road today, I don't think there were when these were initially published, there are no bookstores right next to music stores. There are a lot of bookstores. There are a lot of music stores, but none of them right next to each other. Okay? So Harry goes there, and we're going to stop with this. Who's he meet almost immediately upon stepping off the bus? Minister of Magic. Or let me rephrase that. Who does he see again? The Minister of Magic. Harry knows who he is, but the Minister of Magic doesn't know that Harry knows who he is. Why not? Because Harry was unseen. Okay? So, we will discuss this on Monday when we come back, and then we'll jump into Goblin. But before we do, what does the Minister of Magic say they're going to do? I mean, Harry obviously did some magic, right? What's he thinking is going to happen? He's going to be expelled. Because that's what the letter from Mafalda Hopkirk said in the previous book. And what does Fudge say?
They're not going to do anything.
No, we're not going to do that. You don't want to go to Azkaban, do you? Harry's like, no. By saying he has the power and authority to do that, what is Fudge saying about wizarding law?
It can be.
Yeah. It can be massaged. And you don't need to worry about it. Okay, so this or no quiz over these two. Quiz over this probably Wednesday of next week, and then do multiple quizzes on a couple of later exams. This, show of hands. Okay, we'll do multiple quizzes on a couple of later ones. It'll be a little easier that way too, probably, because you won't have to be rereading. All right, have a good break.